So today, in my mother's kitchen, I thought we could make Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Shortbread? So we will start with what's in my bowl. So I have in here a mixture of plain flour, rice flour, because I think it adds a nice texture to your shortbread, sugar and salt. Okay, so then to that I'm going to add some cold cubed butter, and I'm going to rub this in just like we do for scones or if you're making a short crust pastry. So I'm using my fingers to rub the butter through the flour, and because shortbread has such a high amount of butter, which is probably what makes it quite so crumbly and delicious, when you're doing it, it will start to come together as a dough. You can also do this in your Magimix, if you have one, and it will just come together. So hopefully this should magically happen. Okay, so I've done that, and I literally just did all the rubbing in, and then it started to come together. So I have a dough like this. At this point you can chill it and use it later, or even if you just wanted to do biscuits without the caramel chocolatey topping, which seems a bit of a strange choice, but if you wanted to, you could just use it as a biscuit dough and roll it out and cut it into shapes. But I'm going to press it straight into my tin. So I've got a 20 centimetre square tin that I'm going to use, which I've just lined. So at this point, I just use my fingers and press the dough out. You just want to make sure it goes to every corner. You can also use a spoon to help you get that flatness. Okay, so I've just finished using my spoon to flatten it all out so it's nice and even. And then I'm going to take a fork and just prick some holes in it just to make sure we don't get any bubbles. Okay, and now that can go in the oven at 180 degrees for about 30 minutes till it's a nice golden colour. Okay? Okay, so our shortbread has come out of the oven and it's a gorgeous golden colour, so that's ready to go. So we're on to our next layer, which is the caramel, which is really the super rich, delicious, oozing part of Millionaire Shortbread. So in this pan, I have all things that are maybe not that good for us, but we definitely deserve in moderation. So I have some dark brown sugar, some salt, some butter, and the magical thing that is condensed milk. I'm not quite sure who came up with this thing, but it is rather genius. You can also make your own condensed milk if you felt like it. It's literally just boiling milk and sugar together until it becomes this thick, unctuous thing. So you can give that a go, but I've just gone for the tin that was, in the back of the cupboard, as it never seems to actually go off. And it is always quite a weird amount. It's like 397 grams, which I never really understand either. But best not to question these magical things. So I'm just going to put that on the heat and bring it up to a boil and simmer for about 10 minutes until it becomes the caramel goodness that's going to sandwich our biscuit and our chocolate and all things good. Now, if you wanted to jazz up your Millionaire Shortbread, there are plenty of options. You can add something to your shortbread, maybe an extra sort of flavour or spice, or to your caramel, any kind of nuts or perhaps some coconut, or to your chocolate topping, maybe marbling it with a few different chocolates or adding some kind of sprinkle or topping. So I'm opting for a fiery ginger number. So I've got a couple of knobs of ginger here that I'm just going to add into my caramel. So what you want to do is peel your ginger, and if you didn't know, I think a teaspoon is the best weapon for this, as that just gets the skin off nicely. And you can either blitz it in a food processor, or you can just grate it straight into the caramel, and it's going to give it that real nice zing. Okay, so that's been simmering away for about 10 minutes and has come together as a nice caramel, delightful, with a real essence of ginger. So that's going to be a delight. So I'm going to pour that onto my cooked shortbread base. Okay, there we go. All on there. It should just spread itself out into an even layer. You can just edge it into those corners. Okay, make sure you've got it all out. So that can just sit for a bit, or you can just pop it in the fridge if you want to speed things up for it to chill before we put the chocolate on. Okay, so but we can prep our chocolate. So I'm just going to melt some dark chocolate in a bain-marie. I have my great grandmother's bain-marie, still going strong. They knew how to make them. But you can, obviously, if you don't have a nifty object like this, just put it in a bowl over a pan of simmering water. Okay, so I've used dark chocolate, but I've also had some little leftovers from Easter that I thought I'd whack in there, you know, do the trick. So I'll melt that down on my bain-marie, and then when it's all melted, I'll just add a bit of butter, maybe a bit of salt, because we like to add that to everything, and then that will be good to go for our topping. Okay, here we go. The third and final layer of our delumptuous Millionaires Shortbread. The chocolate, which I've melted of my lovely vintage bain-marie. And then once it was melted, I just added a nice blob of butter and a pinch of salt. And now we can pour it on for delight. So you just want to make sure that's even, so just edge it into the corners and that you've got all that chocolatey goodness. Lovely. And then because obviously I'm going with my ginger thing, loving ginger at the moment, I've got still a bit more of the crystallised ginger from the back of my mum's cupboard that I thought I'd sprinkle on top as a little decoration. But as I said, you can do anything you like. Sprinkle some lovely toasted nuts on there, or maybe you want to just keep it simple with just a bit of sea salt, or if you were to melt some white chocolate, you just did lines of it and then used a cocktail stick to create feathering. That can look rather fancy pants, but we're going with ginger. Okay, so I'm just going to sprinkle that on top around the place. Blip, 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 blip. So now we leave this to set again. We can just pop it in the fridge, and then when it's ready, we can slice it into unctuous triangles to devour. Okay, so here are our finished items, all sliced. This is only half of the tin. So I've gone for a triangle shape, but you can do whatever you like. But if we have a look, I think that's the perfect level of chocolate, caramel and shortbread. And that's that really. The recipe is below as usual, and if you have any questions or queries, you can contact me via Instagram.